we're just looking at the first part of areas and volumes here. So it's pretty quick. So by that I mean we're going to look at some of the simple shapes and how we deal with them. For example, a square, a rectangle, and so on. So we'll just do a handful of those, and that'll set the foundation for the second lesson on areas and volumes, which will finish up on the number strand. So if you have a square, you can kind of specify it by just saying what the length is. So if I just say a square of length L, well, a square means the length, all the sides are the same. So then we say that the area is equal to L squared, and the perimeter, well, you can do it in your head. Well, there's 4 edges, so the length of the perimeter is 4L. Next, we can look at a rectangle. Say, so you wouldn't have these lines in a rectangle. I just put them in there to help me draw it, and also to help see that things kind of make sense. So with the rectangle, we have 2 parameters. So in a square, you only had all the sides have equal length. So all you needed to know was the length of one of the sides, and that gives you everything. With a rectangle, so I suppose no harm giving the names. So with a rectangle, well, I want to know, I could call that the length or the height. So I'll call it height, and I'll call that the width. So height, width. But basically you have 2 parameters. You have two lengths involved. One smaller, one longer. So if you know that the height is h and the width is w, well, the area is h times w. So let's put in the times to make it clear. And you can see, you kind of could have guessed that, because you have 3 triangles here. So, or 3 triangles, 3 squares. So this area is h squared, this area is h squared, this area is h squared. So if you have something with the width of 3h, you have 3 times h squared. And that's the same answer as the h times w. The perimeter, so that's just the length of all the edges. So that would be 2w, because there are 2 wide strips and 2 H strips. So plus, you can do 2W plus H, or you could write 2W plus 2H. Same thing. So that's how you could work out what the area of a rectangle is. And likewise, you could have a circle. So there you have the radius. That's all you need to know. So if you're given the radius, well, you know that the area is equal to pi r squared, and the perimeter is pi times r times 2, because it's pi times the diameter, and the diameter is twice the radius. In general, the root is, you have a formula which will be in your textbooks and will be in your tables book. So even when you're sitting the exam, you can look that up. So whatever shape you're working with, you can look up. So in tables book, so you can just look up what the expression is for the area and perimeter of that thing. So the ones I just mentioned here are all two-dimensional. You also have the equivalent for or in 3D. So instead of a square, you have a box, and that would be L cubed. But basically you just look it up in the tables book and you just use the expressions that are given. So that's all we wanted to look at in this lesson. Next week we'll be able to spend the entire day going into this in greater depth.